If you've ever owned a terrier, you probably already have a sense of what I'm talking about. That restless, wired energy they carry around with them. The way they're already at the door before you've even thought about picking up the lead or waking you up early in the morning. And if you've asked around or done a bit of reading online, you've likely been given some version of the same advice. Terriers need a lot of exercise, an hour a day at least. Wear them out and they'll calm down. A tired dog is a happy dog, and so on and so forth. And look, there's truth in that. But it's only part of the picture. Because if you follow that advice without understanding what's missing, you can end up with a dog that's actually harder to live with than when you started. Not lazier or more settled, just fitter, more capable, more persistent. A terrier that can now run further and faster and still isn't satisfied when they get home. So, I want to talk about what terriers actually need, and why the answer involves a bit more than just clocking up the miles. To be clear, the exercise requirements are genuine. Terriers were bred to work, to chase, to dig, to bolt down tunnels and hold their ground against animals that were a lot bigger than them. The Border Terrier, the Fox Terrier, the Lakeland, the Jack Russell, every one of these breeds was developed for stamina across a rough country. They weren't designed to sit quietly in a house all day, and their bodies reflect that. For most adult terriers, you're looking at somewhere between 45 minutes and 2 hours of real exercise per day. Smaller terriers like Cairns or Norfolks can sit comfortably at the lower end of that. Working strains of Jack Russells, Airedales, Welsh Terriers, they'll push toward the higher end and they'll let you know if they're not getting it. And when I say exercise, I mean proper movement, off-lead running, chasing, rough terrain, the kind of activity that actually lets them stretch out and use their body. A slow plod around the block on the lead is better than nothing, but it's not really what we're talking about here. That said, and this is where a lot of people get caught out, physical exercise on its own doesn't solve the problem. There's a version of terrier ownership that goes like this. The dog is restless, so you walk them more. They're still restless, so you walk them even more. Eventually you're doing 2 hours a day, and the dog is in great shape but still bouncing off the walls by 7 in the evening, and you're exhausted. What's happening there is that you're building fitness without addressing the underlying need. Terriers weren't just bred to run, they were bred to think, chase, and work. That instinct doesn't switch off because their legs are tired. The brain is still looking for something to do, and if you're not giving it anything, it'll find its own answers. Usually not the ones you choose. A tired terrier and a satisfied terrier are genuinely two different things. And getting to the second one requires mental engagement alongside the physical exercise, not instead of it. The good news is you don't need to add more time to your walks to make them more effective. You just need to use them a bit differently. The simplest thing you can do is let your dog sniff. Properly sniff, not just a quick check before you move on. When a dog has their nose to the ground, they're taking in an enormous amount of information. Other animals, other dogs, how recently they pass through, all sorts of things we can't detect at all. A couple of minutes of real sniffing is more mentally engaging for a dog than walking the same stretch of path on autopilot. For terriers especially, it connects with something deep and instinctive. Let them take their time with it. Along similar lines, changing your routes makes a real difference. Familiar paths become routine pretty quickly, and a dog that's walked the same loop every morning will do it without really engaging. A different route, a wooded area, somewhere with varied ground and new smells, that all requires more attention, more processing, and it shows when you get home. You can also weave some training into the walk without it feeling like a formal session. A couple of minutes here and there, asking for a sit-stay while you walk a few steps away, practicing recall, working on a heel position in a new environment. Terriers are sharp and they tend to enjoy having a task. Short bursts of this keep their attention on you and give them something to think about alongside the physical exercise. One thing that works really well, particularly for terriers, is a simple find-it game. Load your pockets with small treats before you leave, and at various points on the walk, scatter a few in the longer grass or bushes, and let your dog hunt them out with their nose. You can build on this over time, hiding treats behind rocks or under leaves, making it a bit more of a challenge. It doesn't take long, but it genuinely taps into that scenting instinct, and you'll often notice the dog is noticeably calmer afterward. Not just tired, but actually settled. Even small things like varied terrain help. Walking over logs, up steps, across different surfaces, it keeps them paying attention to where they're putting their feet and gives them something to navigate rather than just covering ground. It's worth mentioning that enrichment doesn't have to be tied to walk time. Things like food puzzles or a frozen Kong give your dog's brain something to work on between walks. Hiding their kibble around the house instead of putting it in a bowl sounds like a small thing, but it turns a 2-minute meal into 10 minutes of genuine engagement. The principle is the same as everything else. You're giving them a job, and a terrier with a job is a much easier dog to live with. Terriers do need real exercise. That part of the advice you've been given is right. But movement alone won't get you where you want to be. And a lot of owners spend a long time running their dog further and further before realizing the missing piece isn't physical at all. What you're looking for is a combination of both: exercise that genuinely challenges the body, and enough mental engagement that the brain gets a workout too. Used together, they produce something that neither one manages on its own: a dog that actually relaxes. That settles properly in the evening and stays there. It takes a bit of adjustment to the routine, but once you find that balance, it genuinely changes how the whole thing feels for both of you.